everyone, and competitive club football is back. One game before Christmas. It's Bournemouth versus Newcastle at St James's Park in the Carabao Cup, and we've got a preview, and joining me for the preview is Aaron. Club football, you just can't beat it.
No, absolutely not. Look, it's been, I have enjoyed the World Cup more than I thought I would. It's football at the end of the day, and caught a lot of the games, but yeah, I mean, good as it was, the bread and butter, domestic football. Can't wait to get started again.
Please do subscribe to the channel. Thank you to everyone who's helped get Cherries Red Army past 1,300 subscribers, and hit the like button. We like to get at least 50 likes on our videos, so please do help us. And of course, get your comments at the end. We're going to want your score prediction at the end of this video. Now, Aaron, there's one place to start, and that this fixture, when it was drawn, yes, we played Newcastle away already this season, and we've met Eddie Howe at St James's Park. We're ready for him to come back to Dean Court, but when this was drawn out the hat, just on top of Christmas, a long way to go. We're not knowing how many fans might go, but yeah, this is probably not the draw we were looking for in the fourth round.
Not ideal, no. We were both obviously at St James's Park for the league fixture, which was a long trek, but obviously worthwhile. A great point up there. Great to see Eddie, etc. But yeah, this is I mean, fair play to any fans who make this trip up. I think obviously it's an expensive time of year. It's an expensive time for everybody anyway. Yeah, a long haul for a Carabao Cup. Yeah, as I said, kudos to anyone who goes. I mean, obviously people have missed their fix of domestic football, so that might encourage a few more to go than would have done had it been just a normal season. But yeah, and from the match's point of view, you know, obviously the priority is the league, but we'd like to progress. But a very, very difficult, one of the most difficult games we could possibly have had.
Yeah, I would echo that. Any fans going to this fixture on a Wednesday night, 21st of December, right on top of Christmas, fair play to you. I'm still not sure that the club have done anything in reductions of travel. I still think it's the standard processes. I might be wrong, but I haven't seen anything. But let's move on to both teams then, progressing to the fourth round. Let's start with the opponents, which are Newcastle United. They beat Tranmere Rovers in the second round 2-1, and then they won on penalties against Patrick Vieira's Crystal Palace 3-2. Eddie Howe, he's not got an overly great record in the cup competitions, Aaron, but what I was thinking in this new era for Newcastle is that they probably want to tick off by box by box by box, and one of those could be winning a trophy. Newcastle fans are desperate, surely, to just win a trophy and put it in their cabinet.
Yeah, undoubtedly. I think I'd agree with that. I think this is a really different kettle of fish to the days when he obviously managed us, and staying in the Premier League was the ultimate and quite rightly the priority. And being able to give fringe players and a go in the various cup competitions, whether fans liked it or not. I think at Newcastle, obviously they are exceeding expectations. I think the expectation for them this season was probably top 8. Brilliant to get top 6. They're currently third, so top 4 is a real possibility the way they're playing. But I think you're right. I think for them, obviously, top 6, 7 finish would be fantastic. But a trophy is what those Newcastle fans are dying for. And I think Eddie will treat this very differently to how he has treated cup competitions in the past. Newcastle clearly aren't in any threat of relegation. And I think, why not? You know, and another way of looking at it is that, again, it's the first game back for a number of players. So they probably need match fitness ahead of the Premier League return. I think we might see that for a lot of teams in the Carabao Cup.
I think they've had warm weather training as well. And I'm sure I've seen as well, Aaron, just to highlight really the stature of the club, that this might be a full house. Again, I've been scrolling the internet looking for preview information. And again, if there's any Newcastle fans watching this video, do tell us. But a full house in the Carabao Cup fourth round, I mean, it's a big stadium. We were there for the league game. It's very high up, very vertical. And great stadium and could be a good atmosphere. They're desperate to do well this season, probably every competition. Yeah,
look, I think if you ask any Newcastle fan, would you rather come fifth and not win a cup, or 7th or 8th and win a cup? I think they'd take winning the cup for sure this season. I think, they have ambitions to break into that top 4 in the coming seasons. If they don't manage it this season, I think they would be ahead of schedule. But yeah, I think winning a cup is a priority, and I think Eddie will take the Carabao and the FA Cup when it comes around very seriously. A full expectant crowd at St James's Park, and as I said, probably playing players who either have or haven't played in the World Cup. getting them some match time ahead of the Premier League. So it's kind of it's a real, I guess it's a no-brainer from that respect. You want to win the game, but you also want to get the players back up to match speed.
Let's look at the lineup then. The last time out that they played in the Carabao Cup, we know they've got some good players. I'm sure they'll be busy in January transfer window as well, potentially. But their last lineup against Crystal Palace, which was that penalty kick win, was Nick Pope, Manquillo, Lascelles, Dan Burn, Target, Longstaff, Shelvey, Joe Linton, Anderson, Chris Wood, St. Maximan. I mean, they've got a great team, and that is almost a reserve team, although they've got their number one goalkeeper in there. I mean, are we likely to see another strong side in this fixture?
I think it'll probably be stronger than this. As you say, this is a strong side already with some first teamers in there. I mean, the likes of Bruno Guimaraes, obviously, Brazil went far, have gone far in the World Cup. Other players who went to the latter stages of the World Cup might be left out of this, depending on, how they've travelled back and any minor niggles or anything like that. But I think, any of the first choice players who either didn't go to the World Cup or got knocked out early on, I think will be in this team for sure. So I think we will see a stronger team than that. Obviously, St. Maximin didn't even go to the World Cup, so he'll definitely play. And we know how good he can be. Callum Wilson obviously has been playing second fiddle to Harry Kane, so I imagine he'll start. Not sure what status of Isak is or whether he's anywhere close to being fit again. But yeah, I would imagine he'll play his strongest team, bar any players potentially that need a couple of days break.
I would say we were pretty good in that league game earlier on in the season. Actually, I thought we held our own very, very well. I think that Newcastle weren't on top form. They actually hit form pretty much after that, and they've been very good since. They missed some very good chances in that first half. Do you think Eddie Howe will highlight that league game and being a little bit more clinical for them to actually try and win this fixture?
Well, Eddie's Bournemouth at heart, isn't he? I mean, he clearly told his players to have an off day that day and get us a point, because they've been absolutely brilliant since that game, and they were pretty good before that. So yeah, we know where his heart lies. But yeah, no, I think we did play well that day. We were obviously unlucky with the penalty decision, and we can debate that forever and a day. But they without doubt, they had an off day. They weren't at it. They weren't great. We defended well, and we had a good shape and formation, but they weren't great. But yeah, I don't think that will play into it at all. I think it's a totally different game. I think Eddie isn't one to dwell on past games. So yeah, I just think he'll just set us up. I would imagine we might come on to that. I'd imagine we will play some of the fringe players, potentially squad players, should I say? But yeah, no, I don't think that will come into it.
Let's move on to our very own Cherries then, AFC Bournemouth. We progressed from round 2 with a penalty shootout win versus Norwich City, won 5-3, converted every penalty. And then we won convincingly against that poor Everton side, 4-1. Lots of goals. Marcondes in there with top scorer, top assist for Stanislas and Dembele. And I think this is the furthest we've gone since 18-19 season. And look, this is going to be Gary O'Neill's first competitive game as the confirmed head coach. And some might say that he'll have a lot of focus on that Chelsea fixture after Christmas, but surely he's going to want to get up and run in and get a win on the board.
Yeah, look, I think if this was, again, I keep going back to a normal season, I think we would see a very similar team to the team that set up against Everton in the last round. Squad players who took their chance, who all capable. Most of them are playing in the first team anyway, and deserve their chance. Again, this whole elephant in the room about the World Cup, that the first team, should I say, or those players who were left out of that last round haven't had much football apart from Keith Moore and Chris Mepham, who obviously exited at the group stage. No one went to the World Cup. So it might be another way of getting them match fitness. So there's two ways of looking at it. He'll either give those same players a go, or he'll want to play the team that he'll want to play against Chelsea only 5 or 6 days later, having not had match minutes. I know we might have a couple of friendlies thrown in there behind closed doors, but nothing really beats a competitive football match. So I think we'll go stronger, which is a shame for some of those squad players. But I think they've all shown their hand that it's going to be a long season, and then that they can all play a part from the rest of the season. Those who do stay beyond the January transfer window. But I think we'll go stronger, again, simply for the pure reason that we haven't had a competitive football match for 6 or 7 weeks.
We are warm weather training as well. I think the team, as we're recording this, are preparing to fly back. But Gary O'Neill's got stuck into that squad. We've seen some media clips thrown around social media by the club, and it's shown him up and personal. He likes the word lad. He likes the word boys, and he wants to get the guys going. And it's like a second pre-season when I'm watching it, Aaron. It's very strange. We know that the World Cup's currently in winter, which is odd. But yeah, it's like he's putting them through another second pre-season. I mean, how must that be for the players, do you think?
I think most teams will be doing that. I think, well, I imagine all teams are doing that. I know the Championship starts again this weekend, but I think all Premier League teams will be kind of going through that second pre-season. Again, unlike, we're probably, out of all the Premier League teams, one of the teams with the least players going to the World Cup. So for us, it is a proper full pre-season. A lot of the top teams, certainly with many players involved in the World Cup, might not have that same kind of time. I think the players, from what I've seen, have enjoyed it. Obviously, they're not going to say through official channels that they haven't enjoyed it. But yeah, look, any warm weather training at this time of year where we're freezing our backsides off back here, I think they'll be enjoying that. It's hard work, but you need to keep the standards up. You know, we're going straight back into middle of the season. It's a very hectic period, and it's a vital period for all the teams. You know, we're in a precarious position in the league, so we want to hit the ground running. But no, I think the players, they enjoyed the bit of time off. From what I understand, most of them had a week or two off, and then getting back to it. So yeah, all positive around the camp. The mood music seems to be very good. Hopefully we can hit the ground running again.
Let's take a look at the Cherries lineup in that last round win over Everton. It was Mark Travers in goal, Jack Stacey right back, Jack Stevens, who then played the subsequent Premier League game after this game, Chris Mepham, Jordan Zamora. You then had Jaden Anthony, Joe Rothwell, Junior Stanislas, Ben Pearson, Ryan Christie, Jamal Lowe had a very, very good night, worked his socks off. But you think this might be a little bit stronger on this away fixture up north?
Yeah, I think we will. Not necessarily because the Carabao Cup is a top priority, which it isn't for us. But as I said, purely to get the minutes and get the team structure playing again ahead of Everton, ahead of Chelsea. I can't. I would be very, very surprised if he plays this kind of team again, and then the team go into the Chelsea game cold, having not sort of played together for a number of weeks. So. Yeah, it would be harsh, but I think the Premier League is a priority. So I'm not saying he might go full throttle. There might be a couple of changes in there. It'd be nice maybe if Lloyd Kelly can be involved to give him some minutes, and anyone else who's nursing an injury, who has nursed an injury to get some minutes. But other than that, I expect him to be stronger than this. Yeah.
But if it is a similar lineup like that, and you've got the likes of Dembele that might also come off the bench, I mean, are some of these players playing for their careers in January, or their careers at Bournemouth, shall we say?
Yeah, I think we all know at the time of speaking that the deal, the ownership deal is still to be ratified. It's pretty imminent now, and all signs are we'll go ahead without a problem. So there will be funds to spend in January. So we're all kind of not sure how that will play out. I'm sure that a couple of the players that mentioned in that team will depart in January, whether on loan or permanently, simply because if we want to buy 2 or 3 players, we've got to fit them in the squad. But a lot of those players will stay within the squad for sure, and they'll play a big part for the rest of the season. There are certain players who I would be happier to see go than others, and certain players I really want to see because I think they can really make a big case to playing a bit more regularly.
A question I want to ask really is, when we knew that Gary O'Neill was interim and we know he was sort of playing around with the team, trying to work out what was working best, we know he was quite pragmatic. He openly said himself in press conferences that he very much focused on the opposition and what they had to nullify that first, then see what we could do. Now he's permanent head coach. For me, I want to see some sort of identity. He's not going to have that overnight. I totally appreciate that. But does he lay down a marker in this Newcastle game to show that he has some sort of philosophy?
I think he'll still try and attempt to look at a game, match basis. I think, the top coaches will obviously look at opposition to some degree. But I agree, it would be nice to see that now he has got a period of time. He knows he's not working game to game, which has been his mantra. Throughout the interim period, which was totally the right attitude for me. You have to take game by game. He generally didn't know what was going to happen, but now he does. Yes, he needs to stamp his identity on this team. He needs to have a certain way of playing. Of course, there are going to be tactics, tweaks for certain games, formation changes. That's absolutely fine. But some sort of identity, which he now has got time to work on with the players. And I would imagine we'll start seeing that over the coming weeks.
Right, before we get to your score prediction in a minute, there's always a big question across most fan bases. I'm not talking about just AFC Bournemouth, but is the cup competition a priority? We know we need to stay in this league. We've got that new ownership coming in. We know the priority is going to be to finish at least 17th. But Bournemouth, as I said, we haven't really got this far since 18-19. We had 2 quarterfinals in 17-18, 18-19, if I'm correct, against Chelsea. Newcastle have only got to 1 quarterfinal in the last 5 seasons, and they've gone out in the second round, third round. So again, their record's not great over the last 5 years, but under a different manager. Yeah, I mean, look, as I said earlier on in the preview video, Aaron, he wants to go out there and win the game for obvious reasons. It's his first competitive game. But also there are going to be eyes on that Chelsea fixture in the league, because we need to get back to winning fixtures in the Premier League. We beat Everton, but that was 1 win in 5. So, yeah, we need to kick up with them and pick up points.
Yeah, look, I mean, I'd love to win a major trophy like any Bournemouth fan would. You know, it would be unbelievable, a memorable day. But for priority has to be the Premier League, I think, with the situation we're in at the moment. And some fans may disagree, and they're perfectly entitled to that. But yeah, I think the priority has to be the Premier League. If we progress, then great, because we've got a squad to be able to use. But no, the priority has to be that Chelsea game. You know, Palace and Manchester United, because, you know, as you say, we lost 4 out of the last 5. So, you know, if we lose at Chelsea and that's 5 out of 6, then, you know, it's a, you know, in a bit of a sticky period. So, you know, for me, the priority has to be Chelsea, but if that means fielding a strong team against Newcastle to get them ready for that, then that's absolutely fine.
And we'll have a preview for Chelsea after Christmas, so make sure you follow the channel and our socials. But it's time for us to predict what the scoreline might be, Aaron, in this fixture. And it's going to be a tough game. It's going to be a tough game. Eddie's going to get right up for it. As I said, both teams might be a little bit stronger with that break of the World Cup, but Newcastle have got some players that went to the World Cup, probably more than Bournemouth did. I am got to go optimistic. It might be a bit of a shout, but I'm going to go for 1-1 and then maybe win on penalties again. I think that's probably our biggest hope. I hope we perform well. I hope we put a good performance in for the fans that go. So, yeah, I'm going for 1-1, probably a bit optimistic, but you never know. It's a cup game. Over to you, Aaron. How are you feeling?
Yeah, you never know. I'm not feeling as optimistic as you. I think Newcastle, for all the right reasons, will want it a lot more than us. I think it will be a great exercise for, as I said, to get the players, get a bit of rustiness out of their legs, get ready for the game 6 days later, hopefully put on a good performance. Newcastle might be rusty as well. Of course, I think every team will be. And I think one advantage that anyone who qualified in the last round of the Carabao Cup has got is that we have got this competitive fixture. Quite a few other clubs don't, who obviously didn't make it through to the Carabao Cup. So I think it's an advantage for us, certainly, hopefully for the league period. No, I can't see anything other than a relatively comfortable night for Newcastle. I think they'll win 3-1, but I won't lose any sleep over it.
But honestly, on this channel, we'll always put it in the forefront of what we do, and we want your score prediction in the comments, so make sure you put it in there. If you want to put a goal scorer in there as well, absolutely do that. But that's the preview for Newcastle versus Bournemouth in the Carabao Cup, and we'll have more content coming with January upon us and a transfer window and a takeover. The takeover might already been done by the time this video is out. But Aaron, thanks for your support on this video in the cup competitions.
Pleasure as always, and look forward to catching up with everybody when it all starts again.
Please do hit the like button on this video. Thanks for checking us out. Subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one. Up the cherries.
Up the cherries.